he who can destroy a thing has the real control of it.
Dune Part 2 totally blows my mind. It's so good. Dune Part 2 has catapulted into theatres to show us that once again, the cinematic experience is king. You can have your streaming movies, your 6-part events, your vertical video, because this is the kind of movie that the big screen was made for. An absolutely stunning piece of work from director Denis Villeneuve, who is on such a hot winning streak it is insane.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope!
I love it when directors say slightly unhinged things, and him saying that he hates dialogue is so awesome. That is evident in his movies because they typify the awe of the moving image. He is a pioneer in today's film world for the art form as a visual and auditory medium. Timothée Chalamet proves he is one of the best actors in Hollywood today, bolstered by what is quite possibly Zendaya's best ever performance. There's action that tops the first in every way, a big budget epic that evokes the cinematic forebears that were in turn inspired by the book this series is based on, and yet the themes that play in this narrative speak to a much darker and existential nightmare than your standard popcorn fare. The success of this movie has proven once again that we don't need a million live-action remakes or cinematic universes or that audiences' attention spans have gone the way of the dodo. Dune Part 2 demands your attention, it refuses to let you leave your brain at the door, it blows you away, it entertains, and it gives you plenty to chew on once the final image has burned into your retinas. So yeah, I liked it a lot, and I'm going to chat about everything I liked in full spoilery detail from here on out, so you have been warned.
You are not prepared for what is to come.
If you want to hear me chat about the crazy lore of Dune, Rambo's insane sequels, Deadpool and Wolverine, California Split, The Sopranos, Blair Witch, and much, much more, then the first 2 episodes of the Full Fat Podcast are now up for patrons. Please consider checking out the Patreon page and signing up for exclusive podcasts, the chance to ask questions for the Q&A, and written essays on such delights as Helldivers 2, the casting of the MCU Fantastic Four, and much, much more to come. Head over to the link in the description and sign up now to keep Full Fat videos trucking and get these exclusive goodies.
It is
Silence!
Now I indeed liked the first film when it came out back in 2021, but it felt like a somewhat unsatisfying experience because you implicitly know you're not going to get a proper resolution. However, I recently rewatched it in preparation for this, and I think just having the knowledge that the concluding part was around the corner allowed me to enjoy part 1 so much more. And maybe it allowed me to pull my head out of my arse a little bit, because actually that last scene, that fight with Jamis, does tie up an arc for Paul in that first movie. This whole idea that leading is not something you will choose, but something that you'll have called upon you, ties in perfectly with that awesome final knife battle. The visuals still wowed like they did back on the big screen, but I think it's a testament to the characters and world building of part 1 that it was still so enjoyable on a TV screen. I think given the nature of this 2-parter feeling like one big movie, a la The Lord of the Rings or Kill Bill, it would have behooved the story to have been released closer together. Maybe they should have shot them back to back and released them within a year of each other, although I understand that this was far more of a gamble for Warner Brothers than we perhaps think now that it's a rousing critical and commercial success. Nonetheless, the story of Dune Part 2 makes the first film better. It's the case where now when I go to rewatch Dune 1, I don't see how I cannot stick Dune 2 on right after. This is where everything comes to a head. Paul strikes back, the prophecy is realised, and the true dark intention behind the not-so-triumphant rise to power for the son of Leto Atreides is revealed.
reload!
Denis Villeneuve makes big budget movies that feel like they came from the 70s, and I don't mean on an effects level because obviously the VFX work behind this world looks fantastic, I mean in terms of the mood and the pacing and the structure of the storytelling. He makes movies that unwind at a pace that aren't concerned with streaming retention, they feel like they are bespoke experiences for the big screen. And yet, there is never a dull moment, and I feel like in spite of this movie's near 3-hour runtime, the story is jam-packed. I think Arrival is probably his best science fiction film, but Blade Runner 2049 and this follow a hair's breadth behind. They're both absolute fire. It's no wonder Denis Villeneuve was perfect for taking on the Blade Runner sequel, when so much of his direction reminds me of Ridley Scott's best work. They are both masters at establishing a mood, and as someone who thinks that Alien Covenant is criminally underrated, I cannot get enough of this kind of sci-fi movie making. I think Greg Fraser might just be my favourite DOP working today, and this movie was another fat W on his resume. Has it really been 2 years already since he showed off what he could do with the absolutely gorgeous visuals of the Batman? My word. The man who can make volume actually look good has returned to the Dune world, and it is of course nothing short of incredible. Together, he and Denis Villeneuve, along with powerhouse VFX talent and a rousing score by Hans Zimmer, have constructed a truly immersive cinematic world. There's no awkward green screening or sloppy volume or fix-it-in-post style shots here. Everything looks tangible and feels real. One detail I really like that I think sums up the visual approach to this world are the jetpacks, or the anti-gravity devices, whatever you want to call them. The first time you see the Harkonnens take flight, it is an eerie, otherworldly moment. They float upwards as if there is no gravity holding them down at all. There's no visible propulsion, no VFX to signify it. The film trusts the audience to understand the tech without it, and it knows that it looks better to keep it fixed on the practical movement of the characters. This whole world feels so achingly real and believable because of how it is shot and rendered, which is insane considering it's about a coven of telepathic witches influencing a war for a mineral that allows you to see the future. Timothée Chalamet was one of those actors who became impossible not to like after every single brilliant career move he's made. The dude is a stamp of quality on a project at this point, he's got great range and shows that he had the chops to pull off the difficult transformation of Paul. I really came around to him in The King, and after learning he made modded Xbox 360 controllers. That's dope.
What's good, YouTube? This is modded controller 360.
In many ways, I think he has the career that Tom Holland yearns for, unable to really make a name for himself outside of Spider-Man or take on successful serious roles. I fully buy seeing Paul go from this naive young boy to a warrior to a manipulator who uses the legend surrounding himself for his own revenge and play for power. When he silences the Bene Gesserit in the climactic scene and forces the Emperor to bow to him, it feels like an earned storyline because Chalamet has the gravitas to nail such a complex role. Feyd-Rautha was cool, and I think for the role that he has in the story he was a good villain, but people comparing him to Anton from No Country and the Joker from The Dark Knight are out of their goddamn minds. That is pure hype. Cap, as I believe the kids say. Austin Butler got so much flack in the last 2 years for the Elvis voice, and now he smashed it out of the park with a pitch-perfect Stellan Skarsgård impersonation. It is so believable that this character is the hellspawn nephew of Vladimir Harkonnen.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
The final fight at the end between him and Paul was electric. Great choreography, great tension, great sound effects, and of course bolstered by the story leading us to this climactic moment. The Emperor honestly isn't in it that much, and he wasn't anywhere near as imposing as I thought he was going to be, but that seems like it's entirely the point. He's built up as this off-screen presence who's at the tippity top in the first part, but here we see that he's just like Paul's prophesied legend. The truth is much less enchanting. He seems really tired, and even though he's respected and feared, it feels like his daughter, Florence Pugh's Princess Irulan, is influencing most of the decisions, priming herself as the next great empress.
These are our own religious patterns, aren't they? This is our doing.
Josh Brolin and Rebecca Ferguson are reliable as ever, even if they didn't have as much to do this time around. Jessica, please, I beg you, use your power gains from the Water of Life, use your prescience to tell me, did Ilsa Faust survive that lame-ass death in Dead Reckoning? Is she coming back? Is that the Golden Path? I beg you tell me. The one actor and character I thought really stole the show was Zendaya as Shani. Watching her fall in love with Paul was genuine and sweet, and then seeing through her eyes that same lover become entrenched in blood and war was harrowing. You really feel for her when she's practically the only one left not indoctrinated by the myths of the Chosen One, when she's the only one still pointing out that this legend was one planted by the Bene Gesserit explicitly to one day control them.
This prophecy is how they enslave us!
Charlie really helps to tie together both films with her opening monologue in part 1, who will our next oppressors be? It's the slow knife that cuts the deepest, it is her very own Paul. A man that confesses how important she is to him before moments later arranging a political marriage. A warrior that fought so valiantly to realise the dream of freeing her people, but cursed with the perspective that they have only traded one hell for another. Dune on the surface seems like a pretty standard hero's journey, but it is so much darker and more interesting than that. The colonial aspect to Paul's story, the tragedy that befalls the Fremen, it all subverts what we've come to expect from the genre. Paul truly is the villain of this story, and it creates a mortifying effect as he gains more power and the upper hand against the Emperor. This is not a hero overthrowing a despot, this is a Game of Thrones, of which we are merely following the victor. The true honour in the Atreides line died with Leto. There's also such a great theme of free will versus predetermined destiny going on. I recently rewatched Run Lola Run, and one of the most genius things in that movie is seeing how different some of the bystanders' lives turn out, depending on the manner of which seemingly trivial things play out. Here we're dealing with a similar idea on a cosmic scale. I love that Paul sees futures where he and Jamis might have even been friends. The idea that Paul has become what he has become because it is the path of least resistance, the future with the least bloodshed, is an absolutely mystifying idea. Then again, maybe it's playing on the notion that we want to believe that there is more heart to the Atreides heir than there really is by the final turn of the story. He gets his revenge, and the whole galaxy now has to pay for it. In a time of such massive wealth inequality, it is poignant to see a story about the privileged, born great classes warring with each other, talking about change, but only really changing fortunes for themselves, whilst the less privileged and less empowered still find themselves back where they started. One thing I was sad we didn't get to see is a Guild Navigator. They are not only one of the grossest and most fascinating aspects of Dune, but they are the David linchpin to interstellar travel. In the 1984 version, we get to see them, and I understand that they don't come into play as much in the books until Dune Messiah, but still, I am dying to see Denis Villeneuve's take on these things. The sheer body horror of absorbing so much spice that you turn into a grotesque worm-like creature so that you can plot a course across the galaxy is so weird and awesome, and I need to see it realised. Also, aside from it just satisfying the sick in me, I feel like it would make the spice, the thing everyone is fighting over, seem a touch better realised. The films lament on the importance of it, but I think actually showing the Guild Navigators in all their weird glory as the direct result of the spice would tie all this together. I was actually surprised at how much the ending of this one feels like it is begging for a concluding third part. I know there's been talk of a third entry to cap off a Dune film trilogy, but this film really felt like it was both satisfying as a conclusion to part one, whilst tantalising us with the promise of more. Although they're very different movies, I've come away from Dune Part 2 with similar feelings to Top Gun Maverick. Both have reaffirmed my belief in the power of cinema, in bringing in huge audiences for more than just soulless fare. Every inch of this movie feels lovingly crafted, it seeks to wow with the power of sight and sound, and it will surely be spoken about for many years to come as something you have to try and catch in the cinema. Oh, and I can't believe they cast that dancer from Weapon of Choice as the Emperor. Can you believe that? The Dune song guy, now in Dune? This must be huge for his career. I mean, I don't think anybody's seen him since then. I mean, what an amazing turn of events. Truly awe-inspiring. I can't believe that I saw that guy's face in Weapon of Choice. You know, the Fatboy Slim song, and now he's in Dune as the Emperor. It's just like such a step up. It's incredible. It's crazy. Yo, a huge, mahoosive thank you to Peter Vaughan, who is my new full fat tier patron, as well as the good old reliable Dr. Chike. Thank you very much for your contributions.